Hello, I'm starting a new series of tutorials on Stable Diffusion AI using the ComfyUI interface. Every day I'm learning more about it, and I'll share the things I've learned with you. I'll explain it from a graphic designer's perspective in a way that's easy to understand so anyone can use it. I'll structure it into episodes, allowing you to watch in a certain order and progress from beginner to advanced. In this first episode, I'll discuss what ComfyUI is and its advantages and disadvantages. Then we'll quickly go through the installation process, download different models. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to generate your first image for free using your own computer. When it comes to Stable Diffusion, there are multiple interfaces to choose from, each with its own characteristics. Some are easier to use, while others are more complex or faster. Popular interfaces include Automatic 1111, Forge UI, Invoke, and today's focus, ComfyUI. ComfyUI is a user interface framework that lets you create and manage workflows by visually connecting different tasks, much like building with Lego blocks. Each block or node represents a specific function, and by connecting them, you can easily construct complex processes. Advantages of using ComfyUI. ComfyUI lets you create workflows quickly and flexibly without being limited by preset options. Each node shows a specific function, making it easy to see the entire process. You can easily share your workflows and use ones made by others, promoting collaboration. ComfyUI requires no coding, just drag and drop nodes to create and customize workflows for your needs. Downsides of using ComfyUI: the organization of nodes in ComfyUI can vary between workflows, which can be confusing when using other people's setups. The detailed view of processes might overwhelm average users who prefer simplicity. Despite no coding requirements, there is a learning curve to effectively use nodes and build workflows. Complex workflows can affect performance, slowing down your computer if it doesn't meet system requirements. Despite these downsides, ComfyUI remains a strong and versatile tool for creating and managing workflows, especially for users who need detailed control. Once you have your workflow set up, it is fast and efficient. Initially, I avoided ComfyUI because it seemed too complex with all the nodes, but after spending a few days with some tutorials, I started to appreciate its capabilities. So let's start with the installation. You can visit the GitHub page for ComfyUI. In the feature section, you'll find everything it can do, such as Stable Diffusion, video, stable audio, and other supported features. There's also a list of shortcuts available. Finally, you'll find the installation instructions. I have Windows operating system and an NVIDIA RTX 4090 card, so I'll demonstrate the installation for Windows and NVIDIA. If you have a different operating system or graphics card, you can find installation instructions below for those systems. For system requirements, you'll need a recent operating system, and the more VRAM your video card has, the faster it will generate, especially if it's from the RTX series. Therefore, NVIDIA cards are preferred for their speed. I tested it on a 6GB VRAM video card, and it worked okay, but not very quickly, so I would recommend opting for an NVIDIA card with at least 8GB of VRAM or more, and ensure you have 16GB of RAM in your system for a smoother workflow. For Windows, it's quite straightforward. You just need to click on the direct download link for the portable version and choose a folder where you want to store it. I'll choose to put it on my D drive and create a folder named ComfyUI. The archive is in 7Z format, and you can extract it using 7-zip. You can find a download link here, or in my case, I have WinRAR, and we'll use that to extract it. Now let's navigate into that newly extracted folder. You'll notice it indicates that it's portable. Inside, you'll find several .bat files and a README file that you should read. The README file explains which .bat file you need to run depending on what you want to do. For optimal performance, use NVIDIA GPU because it's much faster than the CPU. And the README file also includes additional information such as where to place the models and other relevant details. Double-click on the Run NVIDIA GPU.bat file and a command window will open, and this will launch the ComfyUI. You can view here details about your graphics card, including how much VRAM and RAM you have. Once it finishes, a new browser window will automatically open, displaying the ComfyUI interface. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out, or you can use shortcuts like Alt plus and Alt minus. You can move the canvas around by clicking on it and dragging, or you can press the space bar and move the cursor. You can also click on nodes and drag them around. Arrange the interface so that it fits your screen comfortably. Those little rectangular windows are called nodes. In ComfyUI, you connect these nodes to load models, input text, create images, and save your work in a step-by-step process. The lines between nodes show how information moves between them, connecting each part of your work together. The Q prompt button in ComfyUI adds your current image generation task to a list, allowing multiple tasks to run one after another automatically. If I click on it, it should generate an image, but instead I get an error. First of all, when you encounter an error, it's helpful to look at which nodes the error occurred in. You can see that the load checkpoint node has a red outline, and the message says value is not in the list, which means it couldn't find that specific checkpoint with that name on our computer. If I click on that list and try to select a model, you'll notice I can't find one because I haven't downloaded any checkpoints for this to work. Therefore, we need a Stable Diffusion model there in order for it to work properly. The easiest way to get models is to visit the Civit AI website. There you'll find a tab labeled Models. Click on it to see various types of models. What I like to do is sort them by highest rating or most downloads. You can also use filters to select a specific time period, like a week or a month. For file format, I prefer Safe Tensor because it's safer than the CKPT format. The most popular models are typically V1.5, SDXL, and recently SD3. I will select an SDXL model, which is the one I usually use. Let's go to the search and look for Juggernaut models. Here we have a few options. This one is the SDXL version, and this one is the V1.5 version. I'll choose the XL version, and you can see there are different versions available, such as the Hyper version. However, I prefer version X because, in my opinion, it offers better quality. Let's download this model by clicking on the download button with the down arrow icon. After that, you need to place it in a specific folder. Navigate to the ComfyUI folder, then locate the models directory. Inside, there's a folder named Checkpoints, where you store all your Stable Diffusion models, regardless of the version. Click Save and wait for the download to complete. Since it's quite large, around 6 gigabytes, it will take some time to finish downloading. Let's download an SD V1.5 model as well, suitable for those with less powerful video cards to generate images faster at lower sizes. You can go to the filters and select only V1.5 models, or you can search for Juggernaut again and choose the V1.5 version. The latest version is called Reborn, so you can download that one. Before downloading, make sure to check for the base model label to ensure it's the correct base model. For example, if it says V1.5, it's crucial to use the same base model across all your models. This is important because features like ControlNet will only work with the same base model type. For V1.5 models, you'll need V1.5 ControlNet and related extensions, while SDXL models will require corresponding SDXL components and extensions. For now, it's important to understand that the base model exists and what type it is. I'll talk more about it in future episodes, so don't stress too much. Click Download and place it in the same checkpoints folder as the previous model. If you check other models, you'll notice that each one specifies its base model, often with different versions from various dates. Generally, newer versions have undergone more training and provide better quality, so you'll likely prefer the latest version. If I quickly navigate to ComfyUI, then go to Models and Checkpoints, you'll see that the download isn't finished yet. It's still in progress. If I skip ahead a few minutes, both models, the Reborn and X versions, are now here and ready. The installation of ComfyUI isn't complicated at all. You simply download Comfy and the model and you're done. I could have made a 2-minute video showing just that. However, I prefer to explain each step in detail so you have a better understanding of what's happening. This way, you'll be able to do more than just clicking generate and getting an image. You'll understand how to use it effectively. If you try to load the newly downloaded model and nothing happens, it's likely because the ComfyUI was already open and when we downloaded the model. In this case, you need to click on refresh. And now you should see the models appear in the list. Both the Reborn and X versions should be visible now. I'll select the SDXL version. I will resize the node to see the model name better. You can only adjust it from the bottom right corner. After resizing, you can then move the node into place. Now, if I try to generate again using the Q prompt, you'll notice that we have a green outline around this checkpoint node, but that's not all. You can follow the flow to the next node and see that it's also green. If each node turns green all the way to the end, it means the image was successfully generated. However, if any nodes turn red, there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And for this prompt, here's the result. Now I'll choose the other model, the Reborn version, to see if it works. I'll click on Q prompt. As you can see, the flow moves quickly from one node to the next. You'll notice in the command window that it generated in just a few seconds. The first time may take longer because it's also loading the new model. If I generate again, you'll see it only took 1 second for a 512 pixel image. In the next episode, I'll provide more detailed explanations of what each node does. But for now, here's the short version. This workflow loads the model using the load checkpoint node. It encodes the positive prompt where we describe what we want, like a glass bottle, and the negative prompt with words you want to avoid, like watermark, using 2 clip text and code prompt nodes. These encoded prompts are then fed into the case sampler node, which adjusts parameters such as seed, steps, and CFG to generate a latent image based on these inputs. The latent image is decoded using the VAE decode node, and the final step involves saving the generated image with the save image node. Each model performs best with specific settings, and many models come with recommended configurations. If we return to the model page and scroll down, clicking on Show More reveals all the details. Here you'll find information such as recommended image size, number of steps, and other relevant settings. These details help optimize the performance of each model according to its specifications. As you can see here, it indicates 512 by 768 pixels for the image width and height. The V1.5 base models were trained on images sized 512 by 512 pixels. You can go slightly larger, up to 768 pixels, but exceeding this might cause the model to interpret the image as 2 512 pixel images, resulting in double heads and various distortions. So we can create square, landscape, and portrait images as long as they are close to those values. Let's try the portrait orientation. Look for the empty latent image node, and here you can enter the width and height. I will use 768 for the height and press OK. Let's see what else we have here. It mentions sampler DPM plus 2M Keras. So we'll look for sampler in the list. We can find it here, although it doesn't have 2 plus signs, but it has 2 P's. So it's essentially the same, but with a different name. However, we don't have Keras in the name. Instead, Keras is placed under scheduler in the next field. So where it says scheduler normal, we replace normal with Keras. It also mentions steps 35 and CFG7, so we'll add those values as well. Since we're testing things out, let's also try their example. If I look where the images are and click on the I button, I can see the prompts and settings used to generate that image. I can copy the positive prompt and paste it into my positive prompt field and do the same for the negative prompt. You'll notice the settings are the same, only the seed is fixed, but I'll leave mine random. When I cue the prompt, I get this beautiful portrait image. Not bad for a V1.5 model. Let me try a few more times. Yes, it seems to be working just fine. Now that we've configured all the settings and everything is working well, we don't want to set up these configurations every time. Instead, we can save the entire workflow so we can return to it later or share it with others. Click on Save and save it in a location where you can easily find it again. I recommend creating a workflows folder somewhere on your drive for organization. Give it a descriptive name so you know what it's all about. And there you have it. You've created your working v1.5 workflow for this specific model. Let's go to the SDXL model page for the Juggernaut version X or 10 and click on Show More. Here, we have recommended settings for both the normal version and the hyper version. Since we downloaded the normal version, we'll use the settings for that one. Now, let's load that SDXL model into our ComfyUI interface. I prefer the SDXL model over v1.5 because now I can create 1024px images. If you enter values for width and height around that number, it should work fine. The sampler, steps, and CFG settings are similar to the other Juggernaut model, so I'll leave those the same. I'll copy the positive and negative prompts from one of the examples to see what we can get. Since the image width and height are larger, it will take longer to generate. However, the image quality is better in my opinion. So now we have a working workflow for SDXL as well. We can save this workflow to preserve all the settings for later. I'll give it a name that I'll remember. Now that the workflow is saved, we can clear the current workflow using the clear button. Using the load button, we can load other workflows. For example, I can load the reborn version if I want, or I can click load again to get the SDXL version workflow. Everything works fine now. As you can see, I can test it quickly and it works great. Let me show you where the generated images are saved. You can navigate to the ComfyUI folder, then into the output folder. Here you'll find all the images that have been generated. Another cool feature is that these images embed the workflow information. So if you drag an image into the ComfyUI interface, it will load the workflow used to generate that image. For example, this image was generated with Reborn, and it contains the positive and negative prompts as well as the settings. If I drag another image, you'll see that the settings are different for that image. If we want to close ComfyUI, we can simply close the command window. You'll notice in the interface it says reconnecting, but if you refresh, nothing will be there. Let me show you another thing. First, I'll delete the zip archive we used to extract ComfyUI to save some space. Then, to make it easier for us to start ComfyUI without navigating to the folder, we can create a shortcut for it. Right-click on the Run NVIDIA GPU BAT file, then go to Send to and choose Desktop. This will create a shortcut on the desktop for it. Now, if we go to the desktop, we can give it a better name like ComfyUI. Right-click on it and select Properties, then click on Change Icon. Click OK, and you can select an icon from there, such as a star perhaps. Click OK, and then Apply. Let's see if it works. Double-click on it, and yes, it's loading the command window, and now we have the last interface we used. So now we can clear the workflow and create one from scratch. I'll show you how to do that in the next episode. You can load the default workflow, but for now, let's load the SDXL workflow and test it with a cute cartoon house. The house looks cute. If you want to do more, such as loading other people's workflows or installing custom nodes, you'll need a manager for that called ComfyUI Manager, and you can find it on the GitHub page, and I highly recommend getting it. Just follow these instructions to install it. Navigate to the ComfyUI folder, then go to Custom Nodes. In the address bar, type ACMD and press Enter. This will open a command window. Next, copy the text from step 2 and paste it into the command window, then press Enter. This action will clone or copy the custom node, which we refer to as the manager, into your folder. Wait for the process to finish, then you can close the command window. To restart ComfyUI, close the command window and reopen the ComfyUI interface. The first time you do this, it will perform some initial setup tasks, such as installing the necessary components for the manager to function, which are called dependencies because it relies on them. And now you will notice in the bottom right corner, you have a button called Manager. If you click on it, you can see it has more options and buttons. From here, you can update everything or just the ComfyUI. For example, if I click on it, you can see in the command window that it is checking for updates. When it's done, you'll see a successful update message in the interface. Also, next time you need to restart, just go to Manager and hit Restart instead of closing the command window and trying to reopen it. It will handle everything for you and open a new tab with a fresh interface. One useful feature is that if you install a workflow from someone else that includes custom nodes not on your computer, you can click on Install Missing Nodes. Here you'll see all the missing node names listed with the option to install them on the right. In the next episode, I'll demonstrate how to build a workflow from scratch and understand its components. I'll explain what each node means, how to add them, move them, connect them, and more. If you find this helpful, please leave a like. Thank you for watching.